Boys, I've never done this before. Can anybody hear what I'm saying? Maybe. Eric, you got me? All right, cool. I think we're live then. All right, give me a second. I got to figure this thing out. I've never gone live before, so hang tight, hang tight. Give me 1 sec. I'll throw my lineups in a Google Doc. We can go through those and see what's happening. Give me 1 minute here. Got to tweet this out, of course. Got to get the peeps in here. PGA Tour Live out here showing Max Hama, I think, on the first. Dude, okay, so this is where this thought process comes from. Is the Thursday sweat is way better than the Friday sweat or the Sunday sweat, because you might not even have the Friday sweat or the Sunday sweat. You got to celebrate now while all your lineups are still live. The Thursday morning sweat is the best version of the sweat, especially with no cut. We're just out here having fun. Everybody's live. We get to talk about how smart we are until 3 holes in. Right, because once somebody's going to come out and go like 3 over in the first 3 holes and be out of it, but we're gonna enjoy it until then. All right, I will post. I think I can post my lineups here. So let's see what I can do. I'm gonna share I'm going to share a Google Doc in the chat, which is my lineups. And then I want to go through. There we go. Can I pin this or something? No. A beer at 9:20, Spencer. Yeah, maybe. Sure, why not? I could go grab one, I guess. All right, so there's my Google Doc. I'll kind of work through what I'll do, and what I normally do is I'm gonna open up DK. I'm gonna put in my ownership compared to the field and see what guys we have the most leverage on. So if you're in the Google Doc, you'll see me making those additions on the right hand side, or those edits. I play a very volatile style, so my core is going to be I'm going to be significantly overweight on the rest of the field on my core for sure. So let's see here. My core, my actual like single entry core lineup that then gets expanded into the 20 maxes and the core cascading stuff. That core is Adam Scott, Dustin Johnson, Corey Connors, Ches Reavie, Jason Day, Kevin Kisner. I think I ate a little bit of bad chalk, but I guess we'll find out. And then I used that to expand into the core cascading method. And then I used an optimizer for other for the $2 20 max and the $1 20 max. I just wanted to, that's me testing the waters. So I'm using kind of some new optimization methods. I kind of tinker it each week. And I throw it into some small buy-in stuff just to kind of, so I have a record of it and see what comes out the other side. So that's what you're looking at in the actual Google Doc. So let me start going through here and updating the ownerships here. And we'll see where we stand. We'll see which guys are we're super heavy on. It'll be all the guys in the core, right? It'll be all the DJ and Adam Scott and whatnot, and then we'll talk about the optimizers. So let's see here. I need to do count. If this name appears, can I do this? Where's my birdie? Let me see if this works. Who is, oh, that didn't work. Who are, hold on. I'm going to pull these contests from DraftKings and we'll see who the highest owned golfers are. So I'm going to look at the birdie because that's my favorite contest. So bear with me here. So, okay. So here's my core. And wow, this is really low owned. All right. So here we go. Corey Connors 6.1%. And remember, these are all kind of juiced up because there's only 64 players in the field. So I would expect everyone to be generally higher owned than they normally would. So even someone with a single digit is even more, I guess, valuable than others. I do like Justin Rose a lot for the comment about having him in my core, but listen, you have to make a million decisions. Okay. Like you have to make a million decisions. Every best player in the field is here. I'll talk through the way that I got to that core in a second. And yeah, you have to make a lot of hard decisions. So, all right. Corey Connors, 6.1%, Jason Day, 15%, Dustin Johnson, 13, Kisner. I'm actually shocked to see Kisner at 11, Ches Reavie at 13, and Adam Scott at 12. Quite frankly, I would have expected probably all of those guys to be a little bit higher than Corey Connors, except for Corey Connors. Hideki's 23% owned. Let me just download the contest so that I can see every single player here. All right. Wow. All right. Without cheating, no cheating. Who is the highest owned player in the $3 birdie? I'll give you 15 seconds. Hideki, no. He's the second. Kuchar, no. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6th. Bryson, no. He's like 13th. Brooks, not even close. Cantlay, 7th. Yeah, I saw a couple in there. Webb. I don't know how Webb Simpson got to 27% owned in the birdie. Listen, I like Webb, but maybe not as the highest owned golfer. I guess because he just kind of fit into a lot of builds pretty naturally. So here we go. Highest owned golfer, Webb Simpson, 27%, Hideki, 23, Tony Finau, 21. That's reasonable. Tony Finau would have been, I thought he was the kind of most undervalued golfer, especially coming off of last week. So no surprise to see that. Let me sort this by salary really quickly, and then we'll talk through some of these guys here. So I'm going to put this in the Google Doc as well. I don't know how to pin this. So if you scroll up in the chat, I posted a Google Doc link where I'm going to be making these updates here. So birdie, let's see, let's look up Brooks. All right. All right. So here we go. From highest salary, Brooks. So the guys over $10,000, none of them are more than 15% owned. I guess I'm kind of shocked by that, right? No one, the industry didn't really take a stand on a single golfer. They just spread out the ownership across the top. Tommy Fleetwood, lowest owned, kind of as expected, 9.9%. But then Koepka comes in right after him at 10.5%, and Rahm 11.4%. Everyone's within a few percentage points of each other. The stand was, I wonder how many actually started their lineups with. Well, I guess you could have done this. I guess Hideki got in a bunch of lineups, right? Hideki got into 23% of the lineups. So I assume he was like the second man in. So the 10K guys all got evenly distributed everyone jumped down to Hideki or Webb or Finau, somewhere in there. Then they went down and got Billy Horschel. Then they got Keegan, and then rounded it out with probably somebody else in that middle area. So that was probably the standard build. If you gave me a couple minutes, I could run this through and see how many duplicate lineups there were and which one was the most duplicated, but we'll see. All right, we've got guys on the course. We've got 2 groups out. Homa, Ichihara, Eddie Pepperell, Nate Lashley, Sung Kang, and Poom are on the course. All right, so that's the actual there. Let's go through and do my ownership. So give me a second here. I'm going to do my ownership. I'm just reading something here. Oh, I did also play. So I love like the single entry stuff. DraftKings has been doing this $200 single entry. I used to like the $100 long drive. Now they've got the $200. I don't know what they call it, driver, which has a really good structure. So I've got a lineup in there as well. And then let's see what we've got going on here. All right. Sorry, guys. Figuring this all out as I go here. All right. So there we've got. All right. I'm putting my ownership into the Google Doc. It's higher up on the chat here. So do this, divide it by 20 lineups, and then we'll convert it to a percentage, and we'll have my leverage for each one of these golfers. All right, here we go. There we go. All right, so this minus this. Cool. All right, leverage-wise, in the birdie, which is my favorite tournament, we are going to be significantly overweight on our core, which looks like this. All right, there we go. So as expected, the 6 guys that we have, Corey Connors is actually 6% owned in the birdie. We have 80% of him in our 20 lineups. Kevin Kisner, 11% owned. We have 85. Adam Scott, 12% owned. We have 85. Dustin Johnson, 13% owned. We have 85. Ches Reavie, 14%. We have 85. Jason Day, 15%. We have 85. So those are the guys with the massive leverage. We are underweight on the field on every other golfer, obviously, because of the way that I do this, except for Sung Kang, who we have 5% of, and he's only 3.6% owned, and Alex Noren, who we have 5% of, and he is 4% owned. So that's kind of how it works. The guys that we would obviously be fading then are all the chalkiest players that we don't have anything of, which would be Webb Simpson, Xander, Hideki, Kuchar, and Cantlay, for example. Those are the 5 most popular golfers that we don't have any of. Okay, that's how this works. For my other lineup, so the ones that are right here on the Google Doc, rows 7 through 26, it's the chip shot, which is the $2.20 max, and the $1.20 max. Those were created with an optimizer. So for those of you unaware, I generally do not like optimizers at all. I don't like the way that they create lineups. I don't like the stats that they use, all that good stuff, right? So here's a putt from off the green. Who's this? Lashley? I've got PGA Tour Live here on this monitor. And if anyone wants a LPGA update, I've got one over there. Actually, it looks like the coverage might be ending here. Oh, there's Rafa Cabrera Bello on the practice green. Rory's practicing putting. Keep practicing, Rory. Stenson's out there. Cool. All right. So anyway, I don't like the way that optimizers work. So what I've done is my buddy actually created me an optimizer, which is completely flexible. I can put anything I want into it. I don't have to optimize off of fantasy points, for example. So what I've done is I've been able to kind of tinker with some calculations recently. And one of the things that I'm on is finding golfers who are long-term great tee to green and short-term struggling putting. But the key to that second part is struggling putting relative to their baseline, right? So just because they're losing strokes doesn't mean that they're not normally a losing putter. So I compare it to what their actual baseline is. Find a huge difference there, or the biggest difference that I can between those two numbers. And then I start to factor in ownership in the bigger contest. So I take projected ownership numbers, work it into a calculation, throw it all together, and it ends up being something like, let me see if I can find it here. I have scores of them. So give me 1 second. I'll see if I can pull this up. It creates a score that's usually like 250. Like that score would be really, really good. Let me see if I can grab it here. And then I take that score. So that score that has strokes gained tee to green built in, it has recent form putting compared to baseline built in, and it has ownership projections built into it. So weighing. So if two golfers are exactly the same, otherwise this will favor the one that is lower owned in larger GPPs, and it'll punch out a number. So scores for this week for me, my best, highest scoring golfer was Adam Scott. He had 299. I don't know what you'd want to call this, like Rick points or whatever. Like I don't have a cool name for it. If anybody wants to name this, it's all you. Credits, I'll trademark it for you. Then Dustin Johnson, then Justin Thomas, then Corey Connors. So the fact that Corey Connors was projected to be so low owned, so I had him at 5.2% projected. I think he checked in at 6. That really bumped up his score quite a bit, and the fact that he is a really good tee to green player, and he just can't putt to save his life. So that's how a lot of these guys are getting into these lineups. What I also so then as I was running through those and optimizing them, I took those golfers, and then my single lineup, like the one I play in the 200. The one that I use to start core cascading off of, that's a handmade lineup for me. I did use the optimizer as kind of like a starting point, and I think I probably took 4 of the 6 golfers that came out of that optimized lineup and put it in there. But I think the original optimized lineup was like Homa, Corey Connor. Like it had like 2 or 3 guys in the 6K range that I didn't necessarily want to play. So I kind of moved off of it a little bit, used some judgment instead of blindly following the optimizer, and made my one lineup. So then that one lineup I used to core cascade off of for 20 lineups. And then I actually just took the 20 most optimized lineups and put them in one of these. So it would be, if you're looking at the Google Doc, the straight optimized ones are, okay, it's definitely the short game, the $20 entry or 20 max, because it is Corey Connors, Jason Day, Homa, DJ, Reeve, and Scott. So I moved off of Homa and essentially made it Kisner because that lineup left $1,000 on the table. So then the 20 lineups there are legit just 20 straight optimized lineups based off of my score. And then the $2 20 entry max is similar. I think I just tweaked the score a little bit. I might have just tweaked like the time frames a little bit. I might have just said, okay, instead of going back 30 days for a baseline, maybe go back 45 days. I don't know. I forget what I did, but I tweaked it a little bit. And then I think I capped the money left on the table. So I think I capped the lineups at like $49,500 or $49,000, because that is another theory that I've been kind of tinkering with, where leaving money on the table is not that big of a detriment in golf for the upside of being completely unique and then having a naturally contrarian builds. So to kind of like, not to get too deep into it, but leaving $500 or $1,000 on the table doesn't change your expected value all that much. It really just, and then you also almost don't have to worry about how chalky you are. You can take any players that you want, because you're naturally going to have 6 different golfers from everyone else. So it kind of takes away some of the points where, oh my gosh, I'm trying to be contrarian. I should fade this person. Like, you don't really have to worry about that if you're just leaving $500 or $1,000 on the table. So kind of interesting. And what is Homa's ownership? I have him at 6.6%. Depends on the contest. I'm looking at the birdie, so I have him at 6.6%. So that leaving money on the table thing is, I know, fairly controversial over, across the industry, and what is the right amount. So I don't know. I've noticed that 500 to 1,000 doesn't make that much of a difference. I've left plenty more than that. I've left 3,000 on the table, especially in a week where the player field is so much smaller. I didn't want to be in the same unique lineup over and over and over again. And as we get to playoff events, and especially the Tour Championship, Ben Raza actually made this killer point. I heard him say basically, like, in the Tour Championship, if you just gave him a unique lineup, he would not care who was in it. And I think that's a kind of a valid point. All right. There might be questions about that, so feel free to fire away about anything here. We've got 6 golfers on the course. Actually, more than that now. We've got the second set of players going out there. So Adam Long, Terrell Hatton, Horikawa, Cantlay, Leishman, and Fleetwood have all now teed off. So we'll see where they come in. I will update the live leaderboard on DFS On Demand. Let's see if I have data yet. I do. So here we go. Fun facts. Let's see. Lashley gained a quarter of a stroke off the tee on the first hole. That's fun. All right. So I'll start publishing that. So I'll post the link here shortly, but that will be updated as we start getting the DraftKings information in as well. The shot link data already starting to come through. So let me post the link to that really quickly. If you want the live leaderboard link, I just published it. So give it a few minutes on your side before it updates for this week. And it's right. I just put the link in the chat. Spencer, how was the British? It was okay. Lost a little bit. Had too much Adam Scott, too much RCB. Otherwise, it was pretty good. No real complaints. Frankly, I had to kind of watch a lot of it later. We were on our honeymoon, so I was in Mexico Thursday, Friday. I was only able to watch featured group coverage. Like, I guess I was blacked out from even the live coverage, so I was just watching like whatever the 2 groups were, and then I had to go back and watch it later, like on YouTube or the highlights, to kind of catch up on everybody else. And then when obviously, so we got back Friday night, and then I watched basically everything Saturday, Sunday, which was pretty cool. I thought it was an awesome event. Relevant stats versus Adam. Yeah, basically didn't stop drinking the entire time we were there. Relevant stats versus current form. Which do you weigh more? I guess I guess it depends on what the relevant stats are, right? So if you're talking about relevant stats in terms of course stats, I actually think there's three things. So I think that there is the discussion that we normally have, which is recent form versus course history, is not the entire story. I think there's actually a third segment to it. So I think there's recent form, course history, and course fit. They're very different. So course fit could be, you should set up well for this course, even if you've never played it. That means if it's a bombers track, like bombers. If it's where approach shots are going to be important, I want ball strikers. That doesn't necessarily mean that you've ever played the course before or you've ever had success there. It just means that you should set up for it. So I actually think it is a three-pronged approach. Out of all of those, I think course history is actually last. I prefer recent form kind of to everything. I do see a lot of validity into course fit, depending on the week, right? Like, so for example, this week, TPC Southwind is the course where strokes gained approach is more important than any other course on the PGA Tour. So when you have a number one course, which we do, in a stat that has so huge of a sample size and it's such a well-built stat like strokes gained approach is, course fit to me was huge. So I relied on a lot of guys. Not every course is going to be that way, right? Like there's some courses where everything's just kind of average. Course fit is a little ubiquitous. It's hard to kind of figure it out. I don't really care, but I don't think that there is a huge, Pooms 1 under just made birdie. I don't think there is a huge thing to subscribe to that's like, hey, this guy has had success here before in the past. He's missed 7 straight cuts, but he's automatically going to find something because he has good vibes here. That would be the course history argument. I don't necessarily buy that. All right. Did you figure in guys that miscut with an advantage instead of not? It's a good question. It's a valid argument. The problem is you're going to have to decide this for every single player. So was it beneficial that Rory missed the cut last week for this week? I don't know. Probably not, because he probably stayed in Northern Ireland through the weekend because he was such a big part of that. I don't know. Am I going to go on Twitter for every single player who missed the cut and try to find out if they flew straight from Northern Ireland to Memphis? No, I'm probably not. If I had that information, I'd kind of be interested in it. Did they go home first? Did they do whatever? So I don't know. I think the logic is kind of sound. If they got ahead of, if they went straight to Memphis and got there on Saturday and they were starting to prepare and didn't have to play Saturday, Sunday in Northern Ireland, I could see that as being an advantage. It's probably going to be one of the longer trips that these guys make this year. So getting out ahead of it is probably pretty good. So I could see that being an advantage. The problem is you're just going to have to find out for every single player. So that's kind of my take on that. Terrell Hatton just made bogey on 1, so he's 1 over. We've got CT Pan, Bubba, Adam Scott, Snedeker, Cam Smith, and Louis all just hit their shots off of the first tee. Snedeker hitting his 3rd shot from the fairway on the first hole. He looks pretty far away. He might have, I don't know if he had to punch out. I wasn't really paying attention. He's 154 yards away on his 3rd shot. It's pretty good, but he's got 15 feet for par if you're into that. So Snedeker is... Oh, Louis does not look like he's withdrawing after the first shot. He's lining up his 2nd shot. Maybe he is Maybe he's going to play like 3 holes and then withdraw. So let's see here. Louis from the middle of the fairway, 140 yards or so, I think it said. And, it's such a beautiful swing, isn't it? Oh, left it short. My biggest exposure, so I haven't gone through every single contest yet, but my biggest exposure is going to be to my core, which is Corey Connors, Kevin Kisner, Adam Scott, Dustin Johnson, Ches Reavie, Jason Day. I posted, if you scroll up, I wish I could pin it. If anybody knows how to pin, maybe I can't do it, pin a comment in the YouTube chat here. If you scroll up, actually, I can just share it again. A Google Doc with every single one of my lineups if you want to go look at it. So my exposure's in there. It is a pretty, I don't like to play a lot of lineups. They're all kind of are based on like one lineup, then everything gets diversified off of that one lineup. So I'm always very overexposed to the golfers that I have. I don't spread the love out. I don't do anything like that. So keep that in mind as you're looking through my lineups. I'm completely aware this is a high risk, high reward approach that I'm taking. And that's my goal, right? My goal is to be so overweight on the field that if I hit my core, I'm in business and I'm going to win all the money. That's kind of the approach that I'm taking here. So none of my guys, actually, I guess Adam Scott is in my core. He's teed off. The rest of them won't tee off until I got to do the conversion here. They're in Central Time. So for me, that's 2 hours ahead. So Dustin at 12:04 is actually 10:04. So I guess he'll go out in a couple minutes here, 15 minutes or so. Okay, Adam, this is a really good question. So Adam asks, since your job site is based on stats and analytics, do you ever put a lineup in based on gut instinct or anything else that's random? It's a great question. So rarely do I do gut plays. But that doesn't mean, so hold on, let me backtrack that. Like my core that I make, it is not, I don't blindly follow anything. I don't blindly follow the stats. I don't blindly follow my gut. I use the stats to narrow down my decision-making process, and then I will basically use my gut and make decisions based off of that. So for example, when I optimized this week and got very comfortable with me tweaking everything, and I was like, okay, this is the model that I'm going with. The lineups that it punched out, I stayed very close to them, but I did not follow them. I just a carbon copy of it. So I basically took pieces of it. I looked at each player and said, okay, why is the optimizer and why is the model liking these golfers? And after I went through and found out why they're liking them, I had to make decisions based on risk assessments. So I looked at, so the model loved Corey Connors. I play Corey Connors a lot because the model always seems to like him because he's very good tee to green, but it's like, I have to decide if I want to have 85% of Corey Connors is basically what it comes down to. So those are the decisions that I make with kind of my gut. But they're all being narrowed down based on the analytics and the model. I just think it's silly not to. I don't know. I mean, I guess you could go both ways on it, but I'd much prefer to at least narrow it down with some stats. Models love Connors because his tee to green numbers. So any model that looks at tee to green and any model that is kind of removing putting from the situation, Corey Connors will always show up. Luke List is another guy who almost always shows up in models too for similar things. Sung Kang, kind of the same way. How long is this going to go on for? I don't know. I'm getting pretty hungry. I've never done this before. We'll stay on for, I don't know, another 10, 15 minutes at least. I just was so bored this morning waiting for golf to start. I was like, what can I do here? I'm sitting around twiddling my thumbs. So I don't know. This is something we can do on a regular basis. I like the idea of kind of doing Thursday morning. I could do a cooking stream. You don't want my cooking stream is going to be me going out and getting a bagel. Like that's not a great stream. But yeah, I like the idea of going live and just opening it up and doing that. So if it's enjoyable, I guess we can continue to do it more often. I am home now during the day and during the contest, so maybe we can do it more often. If your picks do poorly, how do you readjust your model? I guess it depends. So man, I don't know how to say it. So the adjustments are always slow. I tend to lean more on a larger sample. So I need multiple weeks of things to kind of be quote unquote wrong before I start to tweak it. And those tweaks are just kind of finding, but what I can do is this. I can also back test things, right? So I can take the model, tweak it and say, what would it have done this week if this was my model, right? Or what would it have done over the last month if I used this model? Because that data never changes now. The tournament results never change. So what I tend to just do is tweak timeframes, right? So I'll say, okay, maybe we want to weigh recent form more. Maybe we want to weigh long-term form more. Maybe we need to weigh course fit more. Maybe we need to weigh course history more. So those are the tweaks that are usually happening. I think you start to get into a really bad place when you start like adding a bunch more things into it. So if you think approach is going to be important, just stick with stroke scanned approach. Don't add in approaches from 150 to 175, then proximity from 100 to 125. Like it just adds too much. You start to double count things. You can get off track way more. I think just moving the sliding scale of the things that you're looking at and determining to be important is the way to make those tweaks. And then back testing that across it is the way that I do it. With golf almost over, do you provide any football content? So first of all, John Ellis, golf is never over, my friends. It's the shortest off season in sports. There's like literally I bet you it's 3 weeks. 3 weeks with the President's Cup. There's 3 weeks between the end of the Tour Championship and the start of next season. So there basically is no off season. Also, there's Euro events in there. But will I be providing NFL content? No. So not as I've done in the past where I did a weekly preview. Quite frankly, I don't do as much research as I used to anymore. I don't think you want my opinion on it. My solitary focus is on golf. I think that is where you want my opinion and where you want my tools and where you want my stats. I will probably do some things that are like, still finding an edge in football, whether it's like, hey, season long, whether it's just like creating a tool here and there, dynasty stuff. It might be like waiver or trade stuff. Like I'm still going to do things and create tools for other sports because I like them and I enjoy them and I play them myself. Right. So if I create something for myself, I'm happy to share it, but it will not be a regular series of videos or regular tool updates. I might just like data dump everything. This will be the first year that I don't do that for the NFL. So I don't know what it's going to look like yet, but I don't know. We'll see. All right. Let me scroll back up here. Why don't you just do a fan meetup tomorrow to watch golf? Tyler, where would you like to do it tomorrow? I'll fly anywhere you want in Southern California. Where do you want to do it? We'll meet up and watch golf. Actually, speaking of meetup, so this did come up on Twitter. I do think a meetup would be fun. I do think going to a tour stop next year and just like, hey, I'm going to go watch the event, walk around. If we want to play golf, if we want to do that or whatever, drink a beer, cool. So I do think something like that will happen next year. I'll absolutely go to the Farmers. I'm in Southern California. That's in San Diego. That's super easy to do. So I'll hit up the Farmers. We also talked about, there was a lot of traction for the waste management. I'd be fine with that. I'd go to the waste management. I think it's, I don't know. I think it's kind of, I don't want to say too much party. I just think it's like, you can't play DFS there. I guess you could play golf like outside of the actual event if we wanted to do that. I don't know how good of an actual viewing experience it is for the tournament if we care about that. Palm Beach came up for the Honda Classic. I think that could be good because you can play a ton of golf outside of that. It's a good viewing experience. They've got a lot of cool stuff going on. I'd go to Florida. My ideal, I tried to convince Mayo and what kind of group we could get to go to Mayakoba in Mexico. That all-inclusive resort is like the best deal of a lifetime. I was looking up the travel packages. You get like the you get like the all-inclusive. You get like rounds of golf. They shuttle you to and from the tournament. They like it is seriously, they're giving it away. I don't know how many people we could get to go to Mexico though. But that would be like the best meetup. Let's see here. Probably won't do a Sunday stream. I don't know. I like my weekends. The wife is home. Maybe at some point we'll get there. Let's see what else we got. How long have you been doing DFS? Playing, what year is it? 2019? Probably 5 years. I've taken golf very seriously for probably 3 or so, where I've been collecting a lot of data. I've been back testing. I've been playing every single week. Full time, where the site, so DFS On Demand, the site that I run, has been around for almost 4 years, or actually maybe a little over 4 years. But it really started out as just a site for me. It didn't start out as like something open to the public. I was just posting my own stuff there for my friends. So that's kind of my timeline. And then now it's been my full-time job for like 2 months. What else we got? I feel like talking about swing metrics prior to a tournament is just for vanity. Sounds great and looks good, but doesn't offer much in predicting winners. Eric the Nord. I don't know what that means, Eric. Swing metrics prior. So you're talking about stats? Talking about like the strokes gain numbers? I don't know why that wouldn't be predictive. A lot of the models kind of prove it to be predictive. So let me know what you mean by that. All right, let's see. Let's hit Augusta. Yeah, if you can get us all tickets to Augusta, we'll be there. Chicago is the meetup spot. Doesn't move the needle for me, Vots. You're going to have to sell me on that one. How come the unknown like fee now? I don't know what that means. Tim, 75% through scraping stats course. That you are the man. That scraping stats course is awesome. If you want to go pull stats off the internet, I have a scraping stats course. Go to dfsondemand.com. That's the plug. It's awesome. It's well worth the money. Let's all meet up at next year's Waste Management and get wasted. That is kind of probably what's going to happen. I'm willing to kind of do multiple of these, right? Like, so San Diego's fairly easy. I'll be there no matter what. Waste Management's close to me. We could probably do something there. I might end up in Florida for the Honda. I think that would be pretty cool, and I think we can get a good group there. But I still would do like if there was a legit meetup in Mayakoba, I'd be there in a heartbeat. Like, dude, I'm all over it. Adam Long 1 under, Patrick Cantlay 1 under, Cam Smith 1 under. Snedeker is the only guy over par. Adam Long actually popped up in a lot of my optimizations, and I think I took him out. Let me see. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. Oh, no, I have him in. I've got some exposure to him, but it really did want a lot of Adam Long, and I kind of shunned it a little bit. All right, let's update the live leaderboard. Uh-oh, John Rahm. Not in a great spot. Okay, now we've got DraftKings data coming into the live leaderboard, so I'll publish that. So go to DFS On Demand. There is a live leaderboard that will update throughout the day. Sure, London, great. Let's do that. I mean, the thing is, sorry, I'm just reading these. The thing about these meetups is like, I'm happy to do them mostly anywhere if we can get enough guys, or if it's just like, I can work it into a trip or whatever, no matter what. So obviously the resort style destinations are awesome. Maybe now that DraftKings and the PGA Tour has a partnership, maybe there'll be like a live final, and that could be a good spot to go because we'd have a bunch of people there anyway. So I don't know. I took Adam Long out of my lineups because he stinks at golf mostly. No, I think if I remember correctly, he showed up in a lot of lineups that he was also in there with like Corey Connors and Max Homa. So it was like 2 or 3 guys in the $6,000 range. So I had to make some cuts, and I think Adam Long was one of them. I can actually go back and see what his score would have been for this week. Oh, you know what I did? Okay, so Adam Long, the score that I have him for is like 104, which is in my rating system, it's probably 20th in the field. But 20th in the field for someone who's $6,300 is really, really good. When I tweaked ownership, when I tweaked my calculation, he got a huge boost because of that ownership. So it's kind of hard. Like the one thing that pushed him up in my ranks was ownership. So it's kind of hard to follow that. Do I believe in ownership fades? Yeah, of course, because it's all game theory, right? I mean, it's literally like if a guy's 30% owned and 40% of the time he is going to be a letdown, like there's leverage there. So yeah, of course I do. I mean, it's not something that I okay, here's what I'll say about this, Jake. People talk too much about ownership of one person. I don't care if Webb Simpson is 29% owned as long as I diversify the rest of my lineups or the rest of the guys in that lineup. Like, you're not playing one person. You're playing 6 guys in a lineup. So you don't need to completely fade Webb Simpson. You just need to play Webb Simpson and then play him with other players, right? So look, I like to look at ownership as a 6-player composite and aggregate, as opposed to just saying, oh my God, fade this one person completely. Or play him and just leave $500 on the table. There's a lot of different ways around it. It's ownership is too simplified on most podcasts and videos and people talking about it. It's just like, should I fade this person? It's like, well, maybe, but maybe not. Like, what are your other options instead of just completely fading this guy? Like, go do something else with your life. Player of the year thoughts. How many guys have 2 wins? Nobody has 3 wins, right? So how many guys have 2 wins? Kuchar probably has 2 wins. Brooks has a major. Hold on, I can find this out, I guess. Brooks has got 2 wins. Rory's got 2 wins. Xander's got 2 wins. Kuchar's got 2 wins. So one of those guys. I guess right now it's probably Brooks because he has the win and the major. Rory's got the Players Championship win. What was the other event that Brooks won? Oh, CJ Cup. That barely counts. So Kuchar's were the Sony Open and the Mayakoba. We should go see him, defending champion. DJ's won the WGC and what else did he win? Something earlier. Oh, no, he only has 1 win. Right? Yeah, 1 win. So I guess if you made me vote, Brooks is your player of the year because he's got 2 wins, one of them being a major. If somebody else goes on a run here, remember didn't Bryson win 2 playoff events last year? I guess if somebody does that, be interesting. All right, Eric followed up here. My issue with stats. Sure, each tournament is going to show the winner stats as being top 5 in a few categories. However, looking at shots gained prior isn't a very good predictor in fading winners or top 5 finishers. Is Henry going to finish in the top side inside the top 5 this week, being at the top of strokes gained approach? So I think I understand what you're getting at. I think you're probably simplifying it a little too much. Like, yes, strokes. So when I say strokes gain approach is important, that doesn't even remotely mean it's the only way, right? Or it's the only thing. So, like, it might be worth 10% of a player's performance, like, right, if we were trying to quantify it. So I don't think it's that simple just to say it, which I also don't think you should just be looking at, hey, only these stats are the stats that are like I'm only playing guys based on stats. Like, maybe that's 40% of your model. Maybe it's 70, maybe it's 20. Like, there's different ways. I think maybe it's just been oversimplified. Would you rather caddy for Jordan Spieth or fight Leonard Fournette? Leonard Fournette will kill me in 5 seconds. So I guess I would rather caddy for Jordan Spieth and take his verbal abuse. I can handle that. I've got thick skin. You should hear the things people say to me on Twitter and on YouTube. So I'm already pretty qualified for Jordan Spieth's caddy position. I can take that. So I choose that one. All right. Adam Scott has made a bogey on number 2. Congratulations, Adam Scott. Missed a 6-footer for par. Bubba's under par. Homa's under par. Ichihara's under par. And only Adam Scott and Brandt Snedeker are over par. Tom, what would you rather do? Would you rather fight Leonard Fournette? I can't imagine fighting Leonard Fournette is the answer to whatever the other option is. Paul Casey. Paul Casey was sneaky good in my model this week. Interested to see how that plays out. Oh, he's switching clubs. So when we hear you talk about strokes gain approach being a huge predictor or important stat for this week, how should we interpret that? It's a good question. I'm sure I did not say it's a huge predictor. Those words probably would have never come out of my mouth. I said it is more important here than any other course on the PGA Tour, are probably my exact words. Which means exactly that. It's more important here than it is on any other course. How important that is, I guess I could go find out for you. It'll take me a couple hours, but I can go find out. You should interpret that as, if you are going to use stats to make decisions, one of the stats that you should consider most is strokes gain approach, is basically how you should consider that, or how you should interpret that. Knowing that, like, I don't make very, I think it's easy to make very definitive stands on things, right? And be like, this person's the best, this person's the worst. Course history is the only thing that matters. Like, I'm not naive enough to think that there's a golden bullet out there. So I usually don't make very all-encompassing, like, always or never, or things like that. So you should interpret it as part of a larger process. Did you see slow man JB Holmes Sunday, Rick? Yes. In his defense, it would have taken me a long time to shoot an 87 too, but I think everyone's nailed it. Brooks nailed it. Everybody's nailed it. He is just not, he's not ready. That's what it is. You got to just start your process earlier. Everybody nailed it. If you're going to use stats to make a decision, or as opposed to using a Ouija board, I don't know if that's at me, but Ouija might be better than some people's models. I don't know. Tim, you would survive 15 seconds with Leonard Fournette. And I think that's generous. I don't know. 20 seconds. He would destroy any one of us. Let's see what we got here. Leishman over par, Fleetwood over par, Adam Scott over par, Brandt Snedeker over par, all the big names. or big names. All right. We're basically an hour in. Most you've ever won in 1 week. Documented and storied is in one tournament, 10 grand. I've probably had better weeks, but without winning a GPP. So I won at the Masters last year with the core cascading method. I don't play a ton of volume. I am a big believer in max entering everything. So I play a lot of the 20 maxes. I wish there was like a $20 20 max. That'd be cool. So like my favorite tournaments are the 20 max or the big single entries. So, and then I just kind of throw those lineups in there, but you rarely, I've done it a couple times, but you'll rarely see me put like 150 lineups into like a million maker. Scroll up. I posted my every single lineup that I have out. It's in a Google Doc. Adam Scott, Dustin Johnson, Corey Connors, Ches Reavie, Jason Day, Kevin Kisner are my core. Why no golf player? Okay, Jamie, great question. So Ryan Simpson is the artist that does these. Big fan. Okay. I don't even think he has any golfers. I like other sports. We've got some basketball players up there. We got Roberto Clemente. There's Joel Embiid over here somewhere. Love the style. If he did Tiger, if he did Rory, if he did other guys, I'd get him up there, but we'll see. All right. We'll call it a day there. Couple things. If this was cool, I've never done this before. If this was cool, like tweet me, I guess like the video if people ask you to do that. Just tweet me, let me know. We'll continue this. Maybe we'll do it more often. See you on Twitter. See you on YouTube. Have a good one, guys.